Hello, hello, welcome back. This is From the Ground Up. My name is Carmen Milagro. For those of you that don't know me, I am the author of Truths About Hemp CBD, a guidebook for curious folks. CBD education is my purpose. I'm also the founder of Divina Skincare and Botanicals, which is a line of hemp CBD infused products. On this show, we talk about wellness and life and business strategy. So it's a combination of that, what makes us human in the world, and how we are looking to escalate and improve our lives by taking care of ourselves. A lot of people stand on one side of the fence of, you want to just power through and, take all the risks and do all the business dealings, and that your health isn't as important. Then there's other people who take a hard line with, look, without your health, how can you build wealth? So we talk about all that with our various guests who are authors and doctors and tech gurus and celebrities and musicians and artists and investors and real estate gurus. So we talk to people from all walks of life to see what they do in their life. And hopefully we inspire you to take different steps or to continue what you're doing that works for you. So I have a very special guest today, and I'm super excited to bring her on. But let me tell you a little bit about her first. Today's guest, Dr. Kim Jacobs Martin, her expertise is in the wellness space, and she's devoted her life to the pursuit of the power of natural medicine and a holistic approach to her patient's diagnosis, with the objective, of course, to provide the best quality care. Dr. Kim was certified in chiropractic medicine over 2 decades ago, and she specializes in chiropractic, functional medicine, acupuncture, neurofeedback, telemedicine, and a whole other group of, modalities that help you stay or achieve your health. She's also a contributing author to not one, but 3 best-selling books. So I'm going to go ahead and bring her on so that we can start our discussion. Hello, Dr. Kim. How are
Hi,
you?
Carmen. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. I know that you're busy. I know that you're in your office, and I'm sure you've got patients that are just waiting to see you. So let's get right down to it. If you don't mind,
Okay.
for our new viewers, why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey to what you're doing now, where you are now, but also maybe a little bit of insight on what was, you know, 15-year-old Kim like before she became Dr. Kim.
That's so funny that you say that. I always thought I was going to be a veterinarian because I love animals, but I still can't even see a hurt squirrel on the road. So that part of life doesn't work with me. When I was in high school, I was in these advanced biology classes, and I had to pick a project for like the state fair. I could not do anything with animals because at the end you were supposed to get rid of the animals, right? And I just couldn't do it. It doesn't matter if it was a mouse or a rat. I just couldn't do that.
Right.
So yeah, I chose my topic at that particular time was called Fusarium sclerotia. All that means is slime mold. The beautiful, colorful molds that you see in the forest that can be either bright yellow, green, or orange. But it has to do with how much sunlight comes through the trees. That's what I did my topic on because I didn't want to hurt animals. So I always knew I wanted to help people, but I'm still very close with animals. I think I like animals better than people, but I just don't think I would have made a very good vet. But that's how I got started, is just being involved with being able to help something that was not able to help themselves. So that's where I got started with that part. But my grandmother was diabetic. We called her Mammo. And Mammo did not manage her diabetes. At the time, I thought it was cool because when her blood sugar would get low, she would have maybe a glass of orange juice or Tab. Do you remember Tab? This is going way back. Tab. and a Snickers bar because she needed to have sugar, right? And so me being a young granddaughter, it would be, Mammo, I can't wait to become a diabetic. I want Snickers and a tab every day too, right? So that's how she managed her diabetes, and it was not a good outcome. Fast forward, she ended up having her leg amputated, and she passed away many years ago with complications due to diabetes. So what does that mean? As I grew up, I figured out from different research and talking with people that that could have been prevented. A lot of what she had done to her body could have been prevented. Now, she would have been in her 90s at this particular point, but she still would have lived a lot longer than she had, and her quality of life would have been so much greater than what she experienced. So when I'm in, my goal was always to be able to do it in a holistic way. I don't want to be worrying about what medication, what pharmaceuticals pushing what medication this particular month. That's not my interest. My interest is how do we make the body work better on its own so that you may not need all those medications, so that your body can start making its own insulin so you're not having to have injections. So there's just a lot of talk about how are you going to do it, because you can't use the word cure out there, because what we do is all natural, because nobody's making money off what we're saying, right? When we're talking about herbs, when we're talking about certain vitamins and nutrients, they'll have a little disclaimer. This is not, approved by FDA, right? Because you're not having your hands in the pockets. So when you really get down to what it is that you want, I think that how everything has come full circle is that people are realizing that they need to be responsible for their own health. So go back just a little bit. When I knew that I wanted to be a doctor, my choices were, I could go to be an MD. I didn't agree with what they did. I just couldn't wrap my hands around going through 3 years of medical school and then having to do 4 years of residency in something that I was totally against. And that was going to be learning the pharmaceuticals. So I was able to stay in the holistic field. And that's why I chose chiropractic. When you compare chiropractic education against the medical, in the very beginning, we're all the same. We all have to take the same boards. I had to study biochemistry just like they did. I had to study microbiology and physics 1 and 2, inorganic chemistry, all of them. And we all had to pass the same basic test. The difference is in my last year, I learned technique. I learned how to put my hands on a person's body and make gentle changes to be able to align their spine. That I absolutely loved. On the other side of the coin, when I graduated and I passed all of my boards, I can start my own practice. Now, if I was in a medical field, I wouldn't be able to do that. I would have had to go through all of their testing, and then I would have had to apply for residency someplace and then fulfill a hospital setting or however in order to be able to practice as an MD.
Sure.
So I love being able to work with each patient as a customized level and making their body be able to react and have a type of healing that you can't get with pharmaceuticals, because pharmaceuticals are going to keep you dependent on that medication. Do you think they want you to be healthy? No, take the drug.
Well, it is a business, right? And I love what you explained. Thank you, because I don't know that a lot of people understand that your training at the beginning is the same as an MD. I think that is often overlooked or not even talked about. So thank you for sharing that, because I do think that's very important to know.
When you look at if you're comparing the differences, they're going to have a lot more education on drugs because we don't study those. Okay. Mm-hmm. They have maybe one class on nutrition. And yet when they graduate after the MD, after the name, they can do anything they want.
Sure.
Okay. But yet what I have to do is continue to educate, prove my point, educate. And it's like, this is all natural. 5,000 years ago, you wouldn't be asking this, because I also do acupuncture, right? 5,000 years ago, that's what the norm was. There wasn't all these pharmaceuticals that were coming into play that was going to make a decision on what drug you were going to use because somebody wanted to go on a trip to the Bahamas because they push so much. But you have to understand how your body works.
Right. Well, and
And
this is, oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, that's really, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say this is leading me into my next question, because what you said about, the way that doctors treated people thousands of years ago, plant medicine was part of that, right? Even as not that long ago, 1937, this is going to lead to my question for you. In 1937, before that, doctors were still prescribing cannabis for some heart issues here in the United States. So I would love to find out, just from my background and learning from you now, what's your take on, hemp, CBD, cannabis, THC on health and wellness? And it's a
Okay.
big topic, and it could
Right.
be quite controversial at times, but
Right.
that's why we have people like yourself and, myself trying to educate in these little community events and others, on here, for example.
So let's go back just a little bit. Now, chiropractors, every state is a little bit different on what you're allowed to do. Okay.
Sure.
So I'm in Illinois. And if I wanted to prescribe, I don't have access because it's not under my license. If I was in another state, maybe New Mexico, Oklahoma, Oregon, one of those, I would have some prescription rights.
Mm-hmm.
When the cannabis thing came out, they have certain, their lower doses, they have CBD in chiropractic products to help with pain management. So
Right.
they might insert some of these in some lotions, in some creams that we can give to a patient that's going to be able to help them with some of their pain issues. In this state, I cannot write a script for someone to become a medical card holder.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
But in this state, we have medical as well as recreational. I'm not sure where they are in the United States with everybody, but in Illinois, they have both of those.
Right.
I'm not a card holder, but I have patients that have certain issues that I think they would benefit greatly. Cancers, 100%. Find an MD that can give you a medical card, because that can help so much with the issues that you're dealing with. I'm not educated like you are, so I would look to you for advice on who would be a good candidate for that. We do have certain, like I said, certain creams that have different amounts in it. My whole thing is whatever the patient is going to be consistent in doing. Do they need to have a cream? Is it a roll-on? Is it something that they do every day? Is it a gel? To me, that's not my concern. Are they getting the results that they want, that they don't have to be, using other pharmaceutical? Part of what my practice is too, when I was doing acupuncture, is getting people who were addicted off opiates. So you have to really give them certain choices. But because I was never one to able to prescribe that,
Yeah.
I'm limited on how I can help. So we have to go jump back over on the other side. With anything that I'm doing with a patient, I have patients that come to me with those carry-on carts, like for an airplane,
Mm-hmm.
filled with prescriptions and things that they found online. And
Right.
I'm trying to look at it, and I said, have you ever just listed all these out and let every doctor know that you are on XYZ? No, they say. I say, why not? Oh, well, I got it at Walgreens or on Amazon. And it's like, that doesn't matter. There could be some kind of a cross reaction thing going on, and your doctors need to know about it.
Right.
So it is not uncommon that my patients have maybe 3 to 5 different practicing physicians that are prescribing for them.
Sure.
And 25 plus pills are not uncommon. That is not uncommon. I'm on nothing. I'm sitting here thinking, I do lots of nutrition,
Right.
but I'm thinking, wow, okay. That's not my headspace.
Right. Exactly.
But when I just got into this conversation yesterday with another patient, and I'm her fifth or sixth doctor that she's coming to. And when I'm trying to sit there and say, talk to me, tell me why am I number 6? Well, this one doctor told me to go here and get this test. I got the test done, and then they didn't even know how to read the results. So they sent me to another doctor, and that doctor said, "Oh, I don't prefer that test. You need to take this test." This woman is saying, she's in her 60s. She says, "I have no respect for any of these." I said, "Well, let's back up.
Right.
If you go to a surgeon and you're talking to a surgeon, what do you think they're going to recommend? Surgery. Because why? Because that's their job. That's all they do, right? If you go to someone who specializes or their niche is XYZ, then that's what they're going to do. There's so many times when I'm talking to a patient, and I have my own blood markers, my own I have like 30 of them with different labs, okay, with Quest and with my blood work. But it all depends on what we're looking at. So when patients say, "Oh, I have my blood work," I said, "That's great. Let's look at it. And if it doesn't have everything we need for a baseline, then we'll just order more. But if it's under 3 months, blood is blood. I don't need to have you draw new blood." But every doctor has their own panel.
Right.
And some patients don't understand that. They'll just say, "Oh, I had lots of blood work." I say, "Well, what did you draw?" "I don't know. They drew it." "But what did they find?" "Everything was fine." So it's like, okay, let's take a step back, because then I have to educate about blood work. So we'll do this real quick, and then we'll get back on the cannabis thing. With labs, Quest, LabCorp, pick one. They have their own ranges. So you are in California, I'm in Illinois. We may not have the same ranges for the blood work. Okay. So glucose might be a little different. Vitamin D might be different, because it kind of goes with the regions in which people are coming from. All right. Those are labs. Those are blood ranges for labs. So I'm just going to give you an example of glucose, because that seems to be a big one with the diabetes I do. Right. If you look at that, they'll say anywhere from 60 to 90 or 99 is normal. Okay. Mm-hmm. If I have a patient that walks in with 60 on their glucose, I'm sending them back to the hospital, because I don't want them fainting on my office. That's people don't understand. That's hypoglycemia. Your blood sugar is low. How long has it been low? I mean, there's diabetic comas. There's a lot of complications that can occur with that, right? The way that diabetes works is that they want you to stay in those ranges. I want my patients between 85 and 99. If between 100 and 125, that's considered pre-diabetic. How many times have you heard people say, "I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. I go for my yearly exams, and now all of a sudden, poof, I'm a diabetic"? There is no poof about that. You have been pre-diabetic for years. They could have been helping you reverse that so you didn't have to be dependent upon a medication. And they don't do that, because they say, "You're fine, you're fine." So I take somebody's blood work, and I have my own ranges, me meaning functional medicine doctors, okay? Mm-hmm. My ranges are here, and lab ranges are here. So here they're saying, "You're fine, you're fine, you're fine." And I'm looking at them saying, "Oh no, Mrs. Smith, we need to make sure that we address this so that we are not doing reaction instead of pro-action." Okay. We want to be prevention. We're trying to make you stay healthy with better quality of life. So education is what I do every single day. And I always laugh and I say, when I have to repeat myself 6 times, then I need to make a video, because then I'll understand in the video. Okay, I'm going to hand you this. You want to be educated? Oh, I love this topic. Let's talk about that.
Well, and I also wanted to, just to be clear, the focus that I do is hemp CBD. And there's a reason, a lot of people in the research that I did when I was creating my product line, I did some in-depth research, because I wanted to make sure that I am not a proponent of misinformation. And what I discovered is that there's 20% of us that are actually allergic to the THC in cannabis. I'm one of those people. So I don't feel comfortable talking about cannabis and THC when it's something that I can't even handle in my own body. So my focus is only hemp CBD, and I'm more specialized in the endocannabinoid system and the history of hemp CBD in the US. So I just wanted to be clear about that. My number one recommendation in the book is talk to your health professionals. See how it integrates into what you're already, taking or doing. Right. You have to create a team around your health, like including you.
Definitely. But I think the important thing to understand is that people still need to educate themselves because the cannabis, the THC is so um, widespread now, even though it's really not. It's just becoming more marketed, where
Right.
before it was
Correct.
behind closed doors.
Exactly.
That you are able to say, I'm experiencing XYZ. Is this an option for me? Okay. And that's where and it's just like with anything when people say, oh, I had this symptom, I took this product, and now I'm fine. Um, they use those cure words that we're not allowed to use.
Right.
So everyone's body chemistry, everyone's DNA is different. And that is why I do all customized programs. I can check DNA and I can say, you are not a good candidate for this type of a diet. Oh, well, this is what we do. And I get so frustrated because I lose weight the first week and then nothing.
Right.
Okay. We have to pay attention. If every diet worked, there'd only be one diet in the world, right? And if every recipe was right, there'd only be one recipe in the world. So that's where we have to be able to take a step back and say, it's okay that not everybody can do the same thing because you are individualized.
Yeah.
That's my issue that I have with, don't get me started on this, but we're going to go down a rabbit hole here, with statins and with the diabetic medication. If you are considered now a diabetic because you're over the 125, the normal prescription from the MD is going to be a statin, high blood pressure, and your form of metformin or something like that for your glucose, okay, for your blood sugar. When I say to patients, how long have you been a diabetic? We're talking type 2 diabetic. How long have you been a diabetic? Oh, 15 years. And let's say they're in 56. And I say, Mrs. Smith, you becoming a diabetic this late in life, you have to understand it took years of what you did to yourself that allowed this to be turned on as far as blood sugar. People don't like that. They don't want to. No, my grandmother was a diabetic. My mother was a diabetic. We're all going to be. No, that's called epigenetics versus DNA. You don't have to follow in the footsteps if you understand that you need to change a couple of things so that you don't turn that on. There has been tons of patients that, like I said, that come in with their suitcases full of medication. And we're able to, reduce the medications. Now, I can't take them off, but I get them back in health, and then I have them go back to the MD that prescribed them. That's the only downside of not being an MD that I can say, that sucks, get rid of it. Don't take that anymore. Then it's always, have you looked at the side effects of what they're giving you? Have you paid attention to, no, my doctor prescribed it, and they're just blindsided. But when they are finally diagnosed as a diabetic and they get that prescription, I say, have you had high blood pressure? No. Have you had high cholesterol? No. Then why are you taking these? Because my doctor gave them to me. You know why? It's because it's a side effect of the metformin. So sometimes you have to weigh your side effects of, okay, where am I at with that? Am I comfortable with it?
Right.
So it's educating. And I shouldn't be the one that's educating patients on a medication that I never prescribed. But I have to be able to bring that all into play because they're coming in to me with some of these side effects and these other symptoms that they're saying, it's not getting any better. I've tried this, I've tried this, I've tried this. You're my fifth, you're my sixth, you're my seventh type of doctor. And it's trying to be able to say, here's the big kicker. Everybody has to talk to each other. You got to get egos out of the way, and you got to put the patient first and say, these are what the patient is diagnosed with based on blood work, based on diagnostics, based on, I don't care what you're doing, tongue diagnosis, pulse diagnosis,
Right.
Doesn't matter what it is. But if they have a certain diagnosis, then everybody needs to be aware so that they can co-treat, they can family treat, however you want to look at it. And not have it be, they only have to listen to me. That's not what it's about. It's like, well, what is this patient experiencing, and how can we make their life better? How do we make them sleep better, or be able to lose some of the weight? But yeah, that's a big concern. 30 years ago, if you go back into history, I don't have the exact date, but it's been a while. But cholesterol numbers that were normal was 300. Okay. Now, then the pharmaceutical companies came out and said, I'm paraphrasing, I think we should have 200 as our number, as our goal for cholesterol. So we're going to prescribe all these statins so that we can lower people's cholesterol. Okay. Do you know what that does? This is part of the education. This is what I love was when I'm saying to patients, they say, oh, my cholesterol is fantastic. My doctor is so happy. I'm like, great. Tell me what your cholesterol is. So in today's world, they want cholesterol below 200. Okay. That's what they're saying is a good number. So Mrs. Smith, tell me where your cholesterol is. I'm at 102. That's fabulous, right? I want to crawl in a hole and scream. Oh my gosh, who told you that? So I said, no, let's back up. Let's go through. I said, first, do you know what cholesterol is? And a lot of people really don't know what it is and how it's used in your body. Okay. They think that it's just going to clog your arteries and that's going to produce a heart attack. Right. Cholesterol is needed to make hormones. So if you don't even have enough cholesterol, I don't care if you're a man or you're a woman, we still need testosterone. We still need estrogen. We need all these hormones. And if you don't have enough cholesterol, how do you expect those things to happen? How do you expect that to, it's an important part of your brain to make sure that your, the meninges and everything are, have the proper fat in your brain. Right. So it's like, okay, let's educate. You know, right. it's like the vitamin D. Vitamin D is a hormone, but do you realize how nationally we are all low on vitamin D? And people say, oh no, I'm normal. Well, here's another one of those crappy examples of where the labs say 30 to 100 is normal. 30 is not normal. 30 is low. We need people to be above 80. And if you've had a cancer, you've got to be higher than that. People don't get it. It's like, you need that. That's a hormone as well. I mean, it used to be just a vitamin, but now we're calling it a hormone. And you need that. And it's got to be converted in your liver. I know we're going off on these other things, but if that doesn't convert correctly in your liver, then the other things aren't going to work, because your skin is your largest detoxifying organ on the outside. Your liver is the largest on the inside. So if you don't sweat, then you have to use the restroom. That's another way to detox, right? You can pick an end, throw it, or skin, right? That's how it's going to get released. You're going to sweat it out, or those other things that we talked about.
Right. No, thank you so much. This is so all-encompassing, and there's such great information. Let's kind of switch gears a little bit, because what I'd also like to talk about is, you know, there's this whole sort of conversation happening. I see it on LinkedIn, I see it on Facebook, I see it on all these social medias. It seems like there's two different camps about this idea of life balance and work balance. And do you have, for example, sort of your maybe top 3 ideas about it? Is it possible to achieve work-life balance? You know, you're trying to be healthy, you're trying to be a successful entrepreneur. This is kind of where this melding comes together. Do you have like 3 top ideas of where you stand on this conversation?
Okay. Now keep me on track if I go off a little bit, because I get excited sometimes. So I would say number 1 for women, I'm going to talk to the women.
Okay.
Number 1 for women is they have to take time for themselves. Now, if we don't take time for us, how can we be good for anyone else? So much of the time, it's us putting us behind the scenes to take care of spouses and kids and practices and animals. And then if there's any time left, we say, oh, I'm too tired, I'll just go to bed, right? Okay. So that's self-care.
Right.
We have to take care of us. So what does that mean? Go get a massage. Okay. Go for a walk and put on your best jam music. Be alone. Just write, do some journaling, something that is just going to be all about you. There's no one hanging on your leg saying, mommy, mommy, mommy. The phone's not ringing. It's just quiet time. And it's, what would you like to do? Okay. That would be it. The second one I would say is water. Water is so important. So I have to try and trick myself to make sure I get enough water in. So I have like a 32 ounce and I fill that up before I go to bed. Now I don't drink it. When I get up in the morning before I go in the shower, so this is that little trick. I say, okay, I've got to finish drinking this, and then I'm going to take a shower. Okay. Then I take a shower, get ready, come to the office. When I come to the office, I fill up another one. And then I say, okay, make sure we drink this before we have lunch. Okay. If I don't do this self-talk to myself,
Right.
I can sit there and say, wait, it's 4 o'clock. I don't think I've had any water. Okay. When you start thinking I'm thirsty, you're already dehydrated. So yeah, we got to keep our body flowing. Okay.
Right. Hydrated.
Yeah, 100%. So I think if I carry some bulky thing with me, that's going to be the big reminder, because I'm not going to want to. So that's why I showed you. So this will follow me from room to room today until I make sure I finish before I leave. Okay. Because it's so easy to say, oh, wait, this is important. I'll put my stuff back, right? I'll wait on me. I'll wait on my water. I'll wait on my walk. I'll wait on whatever.
Right.
So I used to laugh and I'd say, I have to get up in the morning and do my workout, and I have to do my walk, and I want to talk to I have 4 dogs. I want to talk to my dogs, and I want to drink my water, right? You do it. Pretty soon I've got 2.5 hours before I can even get to the shower to even come to the office.
Right.
So I laugh because I'll get up at 4 a.m. and then they'll say, well, how come it takes you so long to get to the office? Well, by the time I do everything for everybody, right? Hopefully I'm doing things for myself first. That's how long it takes. Because, and then you have to kind of figure out, the third thing I would say is figure out, are you a morning person or an evening person? So for me, mornings hand down. I'm like on target. 3 o'clock in the morning, let's talk. 4 o'clock in the morning, let's get going, right? Come 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm like, okay.
You're winding down.
I'm good. I'm good with a Hallmark movie and going to bed. So everyone, you can't be something that you're not. You can't force yourself to be, if certain habits are not yours, don't force it, because you can still accomplish. I have friends that are so creative. I admire that. But I'm not 11 o'clock at night starter saying I'm going to write this or do that. I'm just like, yeah, let me know in the morning. I'll be asleep and go from there. But I love mornings. It's like, I feel like I'm getting all these things done before anyone else asks something of me. Right. And because at the end of the day, I don't know what I have left.
Right. Well, and it's part of that knowing thyself, right? Knowing how you're wired, knowing what works for you, because we go back to this statement, everybody's different.
Yeah.
So I love those 3 tips. Thank you for sharing that. And do you think that work-life balance is possible?
100% if you're taking time for yourself. Great. But so much of the time we just put ourselves off. Right. Because we think, oh, this is only going to take 10 minutes and it'll come back to me. And then 10 minutes turns into 10 hours and then it never happened. Right. And the day's done, right? That's one thing you cannot get back is time. So you just want to use it wisely. Right. And I laugh because I say, I'm going to plan my time to be spontaneous, and I say that because if I don't plan on something, I sometimes think, oh no, I'm wasting time. What should I be doing? Right. I've got a ton of things to do, but I didn't plan everything. So yeah, I sometimes say that.
I get that. I get that. I have one more before we go into our fun sort of, rapid fire questions. I have one more item to sort of focus on with you. A lot of times I've been asked to write articles for fitness and wellness magazines. And, I always try to sort of look at what I call the Trinity. For me, wellness and fitness, yes, it's physical, but it's also emotional and spiritual. For me, it's that whole Trinity, the whole thing, the whole package. And I noticed that in the book, Wellness for Winners, you wrote a piece called Thank You, which I would love it if you could share with us really quickly the aspect of why that in this book, Wellness for Winners, why you wrote it. Like, what was the basis for writing that piece?
Okay, so when I was asked to be part of that book, I had so many ideas on what I wanted to write about. And it all kept coming down to a similar scenario that I don't think I would be in the same place had I not gone through certain lessons in life. The lessons aren't always great, and we don't want to repeat them, but we want to make sure that we're learning something from them.
Sure.
So sometimes at the time we're going through something, and it could be a tragic divorce, it could be an emotional death, it could be a breakup with a friend, it could be losing your job. There are all these different things that we go through that we think we're the only one going through that at the time. Nobody else understands how awful this is. And it's not that we want to have our own pity party, but we're in a place of why me? And how do I get out of this? And when people say, oh, there's always a silver lining, I don't want to hear that at the beginning. Tell me that after I see some sort of a silver lining, but don't tell me that when I'm in the middle of my anger and resentment and all those other feelings that go along with
sadness or whatever.
So the purpose of my chapter, meaning thank you, was that I have to sometimes sit back and say, that situation that I went through was horrible. I would not want anyone else to have to deal with it. So now I'm saying thank you to whatever that circumstance was, so that I am growing from it and I'm making a different choice. And I'm saying thank you that I'm no longer around either those people, that situation, whatever it was. Okay.
Right.
So sometimes we say thank you because we're happy, because we appreciate. You have to look at the words thank you of getting you out of a situation that was not in a positive, emotional, mental, spiritual position.
Right.
We just don't see it if it's fresh. When it's raw and it hurts. So if we can, and just know that it takes time. You know, if you have to grieve about something, it's not like, okay, you've had 10 minutes, it's over. It's not like that, because you may never, ever, ever forget it, but you have to be able to learn how to move on from it.
Right.
So the thank you has to deal with both good and bad. Appreciation for learning a certain lesson. It makes us stronger to say, I went through this situation. I'm stronger because of it. I have more personal power from it. I'm empowering myself to not repeat it, but also if I can be of help to somebody going through it and they haven't gotten over that anger or that rawness yet, and they need someone who's been there to be able to talk about it.
Yeah.
So that's what my chapter of thank you. I appreciate my patients that allow me to help them. I appreciate my friends and my tribe and my girlfriends to be able to help me and inspire me to make sure that I am the best doctor that I can be, and the best girlfriend and a confidant. I thank those people. I have to look at the other side, and when I think, oh my goodness, I have to be able to say thank you. Now the thank you isn't thank you, you know, you're a blank, 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 right? You're saying it's not that wasn't happening earlier, but when you get to the thank you part, you're saying thank you because it is not a good match any longer, right? Thank you because now I see things differently.
Right.
So that's where the thank you part comes in. When I lived in Kansas City, the best church in the world was Center for Spiritual Living. And we used to do this New Year's Eve thing where they had the flash paper.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I think that's what you call it.
I think so.
You write, right? You're supposed to write one thing and then put it out there. Okay. So I was going through one of these things that I needed to say thank you for, and I wasn't ready to say thank you.
Right.
Okay. I was still in the raw period. And so Reverend Chris was saying, go out there and I want you to write a letter and blah, blah, blah. I'm writing it. I think that thing was like 14 pages. I had a lot to say. And then and then just like our flash paper, I want you to put it in the fireplace and, say a prayer and be done with it.
Right.
And move on. I'm like, okay, all right. So, keep in mind, words were very creative during this whole writing period of 14 pages. So anything you think of, I made words up. I combined words. I said words that I would never want anyone to repeat out loud. I said some mean things. Okay. About 3 days after I burned this long letter, I got an email from the person that I was writing it to, apologizing. And it was going down this long list of what he was apologizing for. And I thought to myself, oh my goodness, did I mail it?
The power, right?
I thought, he's saying all these things that I was trying to unload and say thank you for at the end. And so, yes, the power of our words and where our thought pattern is, which is another thing that we have to talk about with women, is we have to think about what are we saying to ourselves? What are we saying about ourselves?
And that's part of that whole wellness.
Yes, 100%. And so because I now I laugh, okay, but this was 24 years ago, okay. Sure. But it made such a huge impact for me to be able to say thank you at that time that I haven't forgotten it.
Right. Sure.
But being able to move forward and the lessons I've learned for it is priceless. Right. So that's what my chapter of thank you is all about. I'm not really talking about anything like how someone can help themselves, except learn from. I hope I'm giving inspiration if someone is ever going through anything like that they have that little part of them after they get through the raw that can say, hey, thank you for the good and the bad.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing this, because I think that what I was kind of to tie this all together is this ability to say thank you for the lessons, whether it's in business, whether it's a personal situation, whether it's an emotional situation, but the ability to at some point say thank you for the lesson, thank you for the experience, thank you for letting me go, thank you for not being the right business partner. It helps us, I believe, in our overall wellness, in our journey forward, instead of, I do think that sometimes people do get stuck because they haven't been able to move forward from whatever that experience is. As entrepreneurs, we are hit with all kinds of different challenges that sometimes, quite frankly, are hard to let go of. But in order, I believe, and I think we're in sync with this, in order to move forward, in order to grow, in order to progress, sometimes that thank you component is just, if you keep it in practice, if you keep it in your arsenal for growth, I think it's super helpful. So I was really, really intrigued by the fact that you wrote this article, and I know that you have patience to see. So we're going to wrap this up. Maybe if we could do 3 rapid fire questions. It's, again, no pressure. It's just sort of another way to get to know you a little bit, from a different perspective. I have 3 questions that I'll ask, and it's the first answer that comes to your mind. No overthinking it. It's just whatever pops out. Let's see what happens.
Okay, so before you do that, I want to say one thing.
Sure.
It was on my thought process. When we're talking about our health,
yes,
our well-being, our spiritual health, emotions are so important, and they are related to different organs. When people have anger, start looking at the liver. So there are certain organs that go along with that. Sadness is going to be certain things like their kidneys as well. So when people say, I have these issues, I've never been able to get over it, you have to be able to look at all sides. Are they taking care of the spiritual, the emotional, the physical. So they have to be able to take care of all those areas in their own body to make sure that these things are going to give them the best opportunity to have clearing of the particular issues that they want. Okay, go ahead, shoot. I'm ready.
Thank you. I love how you tied all of that together. So that's a nice little wrap up there. So let me see. Okay, question number 1 in our rapid fire, get to know Dr. Kim. What is your superpower and why? That's a two-parter.
Okay, I would say active listening.
Oh, okay.
That is actually what I wrote about in the first book. Active listening is so important that I have found that when patients tell me that they have gone to other doctors, the biggest issue they have is that no one listens to them. So if you take a little bit more time and you listen, then we can kind of all be on the same page of what it is that we are dealing with in that particular health scenario.
I love it. Superpower, active listening. Okay. What brings you the greatest joy?
Animals. Animals.
I knew that.
If you're a friend of my on me on Facebook, if
Yes.
you look at my post, I'm like 98% animals.
Yes.
Doesn't matter. Yes, they're all beautiful.
And some are quite funny.
Yes. Now I don't make things up. Someone sends them to me and I post them, but animals for me, number 1.
Yes. Okay. I kind of knew that. And question number 3. What is your all-time favorite movie and why?
Legally Blonde.
I was not expecting that.
You what?
I was not expecting that one.
I'll tell you why I love her. There was a time when everyone thought that all she could be was just a pretty housewife. She believed in herself when nobody else did, not even her parents. She was able to go out there and still be classy and feminine and correct. And she won. And I just adore the whole thing. 1 and 2. Okay.
Okay.
So anytime, and that's so funny you should say that. I wore, when I do neurofeedback here at the office, you have to pick a movie.
Oh.
That movie has been played so much that I had to replace the DVD because it kept skipping in certain parts. But love that movie, hands down. To me, it's about the energy that comes from that movie. It's about the outcome. Plus, she loves dogs. I love dogs. But it has to do with how she still went forward when no one was that supportive.
Yes.
You know?
I think we've probably all been in that situation ourselves. So that resonates pretty deeply with me as well. And I work with young people and I try to coach them and mentor them. And I always talk about, the greatest gift that you can give yourself is the self-confidence that you cannot get and many times won't get from the outer sphere. So you have to be able to draw upon that and believe in that. And even when it seems crazy and impossible, but if you believe in yourself, that's still one person that believes in you. And so that makes anything possible. I love our conversations. You and I have talked on.
I bet you're going to think a little differently when you see that movie next.
Yes, I am. Now I'm going to go find it. Dr. Kim, thank you so much for sharing this time. I know that we've taken you away from your office. So thank you to your patients for, being patiently waiting for you. Thank you for carving out this time. Before I let you go, if there's one piece of advice that you would like everyone to have, and how do they connect with you?
Sure. Number 1 piece of advice, enjoy life. It's so short. And one thing we don't get back is time. So make time for yourself. You can get a hold of me by my website, which is northshorehealthsolutions.com, or look for me on Facebook. It's Kim Jacobs Martin, or call my office, 847-715-9060. So I am happy to help if anyone has any questions. And Carmen, I miss you so much. It's been a couple of years since I saw you in person. We've got to have another girls get together.
Yes, we do for sure. And I hope that's coming this year. So again, thank you so much for taking time out of your day and your busy schedule to share your insights. You've been so instrumental in really broadening my understanding of certain things. And I really appreciate it. And I'm sure that our viewers do too.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye, Dr. Kim. And that's a wrap for this edition of From the Ground Up. Thank you so much for staying with us, and we hope that we are able to impart some insights and some ideas and things to think about. That's really the purpose of these videos, is to help you help yourself in any way that we can. I appreciate Dr. Kim Jacobs Martin for spending the time with us today, sharing some very deep, insightful tips and hacks and ideas and thoughts with us. And, as I've said before, I think, transformational success includes mind, body, spirit. Whether you're working on a launch, a startup company, or you've been in business for 30 years, it's always a good idea to sort of step back and take a look at what works for your health and well-being. I really hope that this can help you in some way. If even only one person finds a glimmer of hope or a new way to live their life, then this to me is what the purpose is of these videos. So thank you again for your time. Until next time, I'm Carmen Milagro. This is From the Ground Up, and I am wishing you continued wealth and happiness, and more importantly, good health. Thank you. Bye-bye.